One man, one message, one movement that shook the world through the rhythm of reggae. Bob Marley wasn't just a musician, he was a revolutionary voice for peace, justice, and the power of the people. His lyrics were more than songs, they were sermons. His concerts, not just shows, they were gatherings of a global movement. In today's video, we're diving into the life, the legacy, and the lessons of the man who made the world listen. This is the story of a legend, Bob Marley. Before he became a global icon, he was just a kid from the Jamaican hills. Robert Nesta Marley, born February 6, 1945, in 9 Mile, St. Anne Parish. His mother, Cedella Booker, was a young black Jamaican. His father, Norval Marley, a much older white British naval officer. Their relationship was brief, and Bob was raised mostly by his mother. Growing up mixed race in rural Jamaica wasn't easy. Bob often felt like he didn't belong to either world. But in that tension, something powerful began to form. A voice, a perspective, a fire. In the 1950s, Bob and his mother moved to Trenchtown, a rough neighborhood in Kingston. It was here that he was first exposed to ska, rocksteady, and American soul music. These streets weren't just filled with struggle, they were alive with rhythm. And in Trenchtown, something special happened. Bob formed a group with 2 friends, Peter Tosh and Bunny Wailer. They called themselves the Wailers, and they had a message. At first, they were just another local group trying to be heard, but Bob's lyrics? They weren't just catchy, they were deep. He wasn't singing about love and cars, he was singing about poverty, identity, and resistance. In the abundance of water, the fool is thirsty. Bob Marley. With the rise of the independent Jamaican label Studio One, Bob and the Wailers began to gain attention. Their sound was raw but magnetic, a blend of Caribbean rhythm, soul, and street poetry. By the early 1970s, Bob Marley's voice was no longer just echoing through the streets of Kingston, it was beginning to carry across oceans. But Marley wasn't chasing fame. His mission was far deeper. Bob Marley used music not for entertainment, but for empowerment. His lyrics challenged injustice, uplifted the oppressed, and awakened something in the souls of listeners around the world. Songs like Get Up, Stand Up weren't just anthems, they were calls to action. He sang about political corruption, spiritual awakening, poverty, rebellion, and redemption. His music was a blend of protest and poetry, sharp enough to stir revolutions, yet soft enough to soothe pain. At the heart of his message was Rastafarianism, a spiritual and cultural movement rooted in Afrocentric pride, liberation from colonial rule, and reverence for Emperor Haile Selassie I of Ethiopia, believed by Rastafarians to be the living God. This belief system shaped everything about Bob, from his dreadlocks to his vegan lifestyle to his philosophy of peace, resistance, and unity. Don't gain the world and lose your soul. Wisdom is better than silver or gold. His 1977 album Exodus wasn't just a commercial hit, it was a statement. It blended reggae with politics, love, and spirituality. Time magazine even named it the greatest album of the 20th century. And then came Redemption Song, Bob's most haunting track. Just him and an acoustic guitar. No bass line, no rhythm, just truth. That song was his goodbye, written as he quietly battled cancer. But it became a timeless hymn of freedom. Bob Marley wasn't just a singer. He was a teacher, a prophet in denim and dreadlocks. And his classroom? The entire world. By the mid-1970s, Bob Marley had become much more than a Jamaican star. He was a voice for the voiceless across the world. His concerts weren't just music events. They were gatherings of people who were angry, hopeful, oppressed, or rising. And they all found strength in the same sound: reggae. At home in Jamaica, political tension was boiling. Rival parties, the People's National Party, PNP, and the Jamaica Labour Party, JLP, were locked in bitter, violent conflict. Innocent people were caught in the crossfire. In 1976, just 2 days before a planned Unity concert, Bob Marley was shot in his own home. Gunmen stormed the property and injured him, his wife Rita Marley, and his manager. Many believed it was a politically motivated hit. But Marley didn't back down. 2 days later, despite his wounds, he stepped on stage at the Smile Jamaica concert and performed. His reason? The people who are trying to make this world worse aren't taking a day off. How can I? In 1978, Marley hosted the legendary One Love Peace concert, where he did something that had never been done before, and hasn't been done since. On stage, in front of tens of thousands, Bob Marley brought the two rival political leaders, Prime Minister Michael Manley and opposition leader Edward Seaga, together, literally joining their hands in a gesture of unity. It was one of the most powerful acts of musical diplomacy in history. A reggae singer did what politicians, soldiers, and diplomats could not. He made peace, even if only for a moment. Bob's message traveled far beyond Jamaica. He toured Africa, America, and Europe, often performing in front of hundreds of thousands, preaching peace, black pride, and spiritual freedom. He was a global citizen, fighting apartheid in South Africa, uplifting the Pan-African message, and shining a light on the struggles of the poor and the powerless. Until the color of a man's skin is of no more significance than the color of his eyes, me say war. Bob Marley, war. Bob Marley's impact wasn't just musical, it was cultural, political, and spiritual. He proved that music can move mountains, or at the very least, make people pause, listen, and change.